Spartans versus Fighting Illini this upcoming Saturday. This is a big one for Michigan State, but also Illinois is having a big season on their end. We have Andrew Pastorik of Oski Talk and the Champagne Room here to break it down for us. Let's go.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The most lovely people in the entire world. Yes, I'm talking about you, the viewers, you, the listeners of Locked On Spartans, but also this gentleman over here, Drew Pastorik of Oski Talk of the Champagne Room. He's going to talk to us about his Fighting Illini here in a hot second. But before I let him speak, hey, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Speaking of betting, Drew, you're Fighting Illini. 10-point favorites going into this game. You guys are riding a wave of a 7-1 season. I think I already know the answer here, but how are you doing today, Drew?
I'm doing pretty well. I think most Illini fans, maybe the lunatic fringe, are still a little like they're just waiting for the bottom to fall out. But I think for the most part, like 90-ish% of us, like, this is far more than anything we could have anticipated. I mean, if you just said at the beginning of the year, if you just told me in July, this team's going to have 7 wins, and just leave it at that, I'd have been like, sign me up. And now it's like 8-4 is like the floor for this team. It's been a really fun season in a sport where we don't normally have a lot of fun. So it's been great.
No kidding. And that leads right into my next question here is obviously, hey, you are in a great mood, but just like a general pulse of the fan base. Is it that feeling where like the bottom's going to fall out? Is it just, hey, all hunky-dory, we're going to enjoy the ride while it goes? Or is it like, oh no, we're a real football school. We have aspirations of Indianapolis or bust right now. Those are 3 different ways to look at it, but what is like the overwhelming favorite?
Yeah, I think there's, and I'm certainly as cynical, as jaded as it comes. So there's still there's still a part of me in my head that's like, we're Illinois fans. We don't have nice things happen. Like what catastrophe is going to befall us here that's going to, stop us from attaining this goal and keeping this thing going. But I think generally speaking, this has been a really, really pleasant surprise. Admittedly, I was not a huge fan of the Bielema hire when it first happened. Yeah. Just like, it just seemed kind of lazy. Like it's another retread, a guy that's, it just seemed very safe. Yeah. And, maybe that was counter to the Lovie Smith hire, which was very splashy, very risky. And so you're trying to hedge a little bit. But there were certainly more, quote unquote, attractive names that we wanted to see them pursue. I've totally flipped on it. I mean, he's clearly got the buy-in from his players. He's hired really good assistant coaches. The OC offensive coordinator last year, that didn't work out. So, got rid of Tony Peterson, has brought in Barry Lunny from UTSA. He's paired really nicely with Brett Bielema. And Ryan Walters, the DC, is just, he's in God mode right now. He's the talk of the town. Like, he's probably the hottest assistant coach on the market right now. Like, any head coaching conversation is probably going to start with him, or he's going to be very high on a lot of lists, which as an Illini fan makes me nervous.
Sure. Right. Been there.
But he certainly deserved it with the work that he's done with a group that he mostly inherited. A lot of these guys are not guys that Brett Bielema recruited around. Well, these are a lot of Lovie Smith's holdovers, and the work that he's been able to do with them to turn them into this elite unit, it's really phenomenal. So just the long-winded answer to your question is most fans, I think, are very, very happy.
Yeah. Totally.
And a lot of us are like, Indianapolis, let's go. It's like 2 hours from Champaign. We can make that work. Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's go.
That's amazing. And hopefully, like it could also be Ohio State in that championship game. And not just because that would mean Michigan's not going, but also like, I think OSU would just kind of be bored by it. I don't know. Whereas a fan base like you guys would fill Lucas Oil. I guess that's considerably. I
guess that's the kind of thing that worries me. Maybe worry's not the right word, but it's like Ohio State, like that's a business trip for them, right? Like that's
kind of
that's what
right.
They expect every single year.
Yeah.
So like last year when they didn't get there, it's like, that's a disappointment. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a world to live in where, an 11-win season's sad. But that's the world that they live in. And so I think for Illinois, like, I don't want to get trapped in this, hey, we're just happy to be there. Anything else that happens is great.
Right.
I think, we've already hit a lot of those benchmarks that we would have expected Illinois or thought Illinois could hit. Now, in my opinion, it's like, can we really be disappointed if they go like 9-3? But it feels that way now with how good they've been. It's like, man, now if they lose a game, it's like, what went wrong for us to lose the game versus, 6-7 weeks ago at Indiana, we're like, oh, here we go again. Same old stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
That feels like it was 10 years ago.
Man, look at you guys. And like, look, I'm going to ask your just broad view of this game coming up this Saturday. But first, I just need to laugh at myself. I need to call myself out in a way. But then again, I'm not completely incorrect about what I said during the offseason. Because building up to this season, look, Michigan State, 11-win season, Peach Bowl champions, a lot of momentum going in the summer, felt really high about this game. And we would get the question on this podcast a lot, like, hey, what games are you worried about? I said, every single time I was asked a question, Illinois is going to be a trap game. It's going to be after an emotional game against Michigan, physical game against Michigan. Then you're going to go into Champaign, and probably as maybe a top 20 team, you have to stave off a trap game. Now, with that said, I was correct that it is a trap game, that it does involve a top 20 team, that it is going to be after an emotional Michigan State game. Now, with that said, Drew, boy, did I kind of get the teams mixed up here. Oh, yikes. I'll say it again. 10-point underdogs. Does this game even feel trappy for you guys, or are things going so well over in Illinois? And are you looking up in East Lansing and seeing that things are going so not necessarily well up here? Is the confidence kind of there for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, for me it is. I think a lot of us at the Champaign Room kind of feel the same way. Like, Michigan's the only game the rest of the way. Illinois is not going to be favored to win.
Yeah.
And I felt this way, kind of before all the suspensions and all that stuff went down, in the aftermath of the Michigan game, like just based on what we'd seen on the field from the Spartans, I felt like this version of Illinois as presently constructed, I don't want to say shouldn't be worried, but I'm not overly concerned that they would lose that game just because of how consistently they've played over the past couple of months. So, I mean, could there be some let up? Sure. Nebraska was doing some good things against Illinois last week, and then Casey Thompson got hurt and it totally shifted. Yeah. So, I mean, if you make a couple of big plays, you get, hot quarterback play, I think anything's possible. But as far as, sensing dread or gloom, I'm pretty confident that Illinois is not going to overlook anybody. In years past, we'd say we're not good enough to overlook anybody. Like Eastern Michigan came to Champaign and beat Illinois a couple of years ago.
Well,
and that's just not something that should ever happen, ever. So is it possible? Sure. I mean, that's a big point spread. If you're into that kind of thing, maybe you're saying, okay, maybe I'll take the spread. Maybe Michigan State can keep it within a couple of scores. But it's based on what we've seen on the field, the consistency that Illinois has had on offense and the performance the defense has put up. I would expect Illinois to win. I don't think that's, being overly confident or cocky. I think it's it's fair to expect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's not like you guys are 10-point underdogs saying that. Like, just like you said, 10 points is a smattering of points. If you're not into gambling at all, let me just tell you, just the way Drew just told it to you, That's a steep.
That's a big spread. I mean,
you
see an Alabama game and they're like a 25-point favorite, and you're always like, I don't know, man. Alabama's good, but 25 points is a lot of points. Like maybe I could make some money taking the plus 25. So I mean, again, anything's possible, and maybe this is something more for you, but like that. The brawl, the fracas after Michigan, like that could do one of two things, right? It could either totally unravel your team and further, take them down the disappointing road they've been on, or it's something like this is a wake-up call. It's a chance to fire them up. You never know. You never know.
Oddly forge the team together, a calculated brawl with calculated suspensions and maybe criminal charges. Hey, you know what?
It's like the coach getting teed up, right? It's like,
sure, exactly.
I'm going to do this right now because this is the time they need it, and then they're going to rally. And exactly.
See, you know what? If it works, fine. If that's what it takes to make a Duke's Mayo Bowl this year for Michigan State, fine, whatever. I'll take anything at this point. Whatever. We will be back with Drew in a hot second. Great conversation so far. This has been awesome, but we just have to talk everyone's ear off about SimpliSafe. That's right. We're talking the top home security system. And gang, let's sit down here because I got a fun fact for you. Actually, it's not so fun. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike nationally? That's not such a fun fact, but luckily, hey, our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today. Half off. Half off. I'm going to say that again. 50% off, half off. Enjoy the advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. SimpliSafe was just named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report for a third year in a row. That's right. It's a three-peat for SimpliSafe. And SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and out, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you and only you when the threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, other threats to your home. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off of any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/LockedOnCollege. This is the biggest discount of the year, so do not wait. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnCollege. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. And quite frankly, there is no person to talk Illinois football with than Drew Pastoric of Oski Talk, the Champagne Room. Busy guy over there. Speaking of busy people that represent Illinois, the defense is out of control. Outstanding for Illinois. Really quick, look, I went through some of these stats yesterday late in the show. I'll rehash them just to paint a picture of how crazy Illinois' defense has been this year. They've given up 6 touchdowns all season. Not just this month, not just last few. 6 touchdowns all season. 8.9 points per game. Both are obviously the best in the nation. Second best run defense in the nation at yards per game. Second best pass defense at yards per game. Best in the nation at opposing completion percentage of 44%. What on earth? 15 interceptions, which is also the best in the nation. And just to sprinkle something on top, second most amount of sacks in the Big Ten. Drew, I have a really well thought out question for you right here. You ready for this one?
Sure.
How?
I mean, first of all, you're like, were you looking off my legal pad here?
Look at that.
I was going to pepper you with all this stuff, and it's like,
bang.
Who needs my notes? It's fine.
I hit your bingo card. There we go.
I really think, and we sort of alluded to it before, but Ryan Walters, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I can't put some you hear me talking, right? I can't even really explain it.
I oddly get it.
The buy-in's been great. I mean, Illinois is known for having really good strength and conditioning coaches too. So that's part of it. But it's just the scheme really works. He was doing a 3-3-5 for a while, which you don't see a lot of that. Usually it's 4-3-3-4, something like that. Sure. He's gone more to the traditional schemes lately, I think, just based on the teams they're playing against, which is also something you don't get a lot. You have a lot of the stubborn coaching, this is my system. This is my system. they're really good at all of the position groups. I mean, you look at DBs, Devin Witherspoon is a dude, an unranked recruit in 2019, like not 3-star, not, the 35th best player in his state, like unranked. And he's probably going to be a first-round draft pick now. Like he's just been amazing. He's been a revelation. You got linebackers. Seth Coleman's really emerged lately as kind of a hybrid, D-end linebacker. Tariq Barnes has been really good. Gabe Akis, a true freshman, is just a game wrecker. He's like 18 years old and he's 6'3" and 265, and he's just an enormous mountain of a man. And you've got the law firm, Newton and Randolph, up front, on the in the trenches there, both doing really great things, super athletic for guys that are, huge. I'm a Bears fan, so maybe this doesn't compute for a lot of people watching this show, but back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, they had Ted Washington and Keith Traylor on their D-line. And it was like, oh, you've got this guy who's 350. And then this guy next to him who's 350. And they're both going to kill your quarterback. It's just awesome. Kind of how they have that vibe. Keith Randolph was like a high school basketball player, and he's 6'4" and 330 pounds. It's insane. Like, they just have a bunch of really good guys, dotted all over the place. There's not one, weak area. Mm-hmm. And then Brett Bielema has said that Ryan Walters, he's got a play sheet, but it's all in his head. He doesn't have the giant, Waffle House menu, right? Yeah, all the graphics and all the lingo. Like, it's the size of an index card, and he's got all of these things in his head, and somehow it's gone from his brain to his lips, and it's just been communicated expertly well. They're very sound tackling. They're very well disciplined. They know where they need to be all the time. And, they play man-to-man, which you would think playing man-to-man defense, we're going to get burned. We're going to give up 250, 300 passing yards a game. And they just don't. They're always seeming to be in the right place at the right time. And that's, they are ball hawks, which they kind of got that from Lovie Smith, and they've just kept that going. It's really hard to describe. Like, I don't know what one thing or what things have happened, but the messaging has obviously been there.
For those listening on the pod and can't see, I'm just dejected as you're talking about this great defensive coordinator. You're getting disciplined from the play. That must be nice. That must be awesome. Good for. I'm really happy for you. That's great.
And I'm going to be a little nerdy and say, technically it's 8.88 points per game.
Crap. Shit.
Got to give you some demerits for that too. But just a little bit. Just you were close.
I assure you, 200ths of that's not. That is 888. That is unbelievable. That is
71 points allowed in 8 games.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting. It's filthy. I mean, no, we're kind of at the end of spooky season now, but I've made a lot of jokes about Brett Bielema being like a sorcerer and that he's an exorcist. All these past opponents that Illinois has had, they didn't beat Iowa for 20 years. Didn't beat Wisconsin in Wisconsin for 20 years. They hadn't beaten Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota in the same season since '83. And it's he's got some cauldron. He's stirring and, citing incantations or something to make this work. He's got some voodoo doll and he just keeps poking pins in it. I don't know. It's great. It's been fun to see. We're not a traditional power by any stretch. This is the third best season they've had in 20 years. Man. So it's really been a marvel. It's been a revelation, really.
And, I want to get to the offensive side of the ball here, but really quick, I do have one question about something that Ryan Walters said. I believe it was in Monday's press conference, maybe Tuesday. I don't know. My days are all sorts of jacked up right now. He said that Michigan State's offensive line is going to be the best offensive line unit they play this year. Now, as someone that has watched Michigan State's offensive line play all year, and as many of our viewers and listeners have watched the same unit, It can be one of three things. It can be one, okay, your coach just doesn't want his unit to be overlooking Michigan State. Number two, you guys must have had a really bad schedule where you guys haven't faced a great offensive line. Or number three, he's on psychedelics and is just watching a completely different team that wears green and white when he's crunching film. What one of those three do you think the option is? Like, have you guys faced really bad offensive line up to this point? Or
well, I don't know if it's bad offensive lines, but certainly Wisconsin's been down this year.
Yeah.
They've already lost a coach, right?
Not good. Yep. Right.
Nebraska is Nebraska-ing again. And Iowa, which normally just pumps out NFL offensive linemen like 4 at a time.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of iffy years, though, and Linderbaum was there last year, but the O-line's not been as good as it has been. So, I mean, I guess you could point to that and say the coaches are not overlooking anybody. They're just showing respect for an opponent, as you would expect most coaches to do. They're not going to roll in there and say, Michigan State, screw
7
these
sacks.
guys.
Right.
They're just a roadblock. They're just a road bump on the way to Indianapolis. Like, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like everyone in the Big Ten's got a bunch of guys that are 6'4" and 325. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't know. Admittedly, I haven't seen enough of Michigan State, to know if the O-line's bad, good, in between. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I know they've given up a lot of sacks, I think. So that's been kind of a weak part, but
it's not great.
I would attribute it to probably Ryan Walters just showing respect to an opponent, not wanting to keep his guys in check and keep them motivated, keep the eyes on the prize.
All right, I'll tip my cap to him there. There we go. So good motivator, great defensive coordinator. Look at that. And I got to share really quick news about a great topic. Speaking of greatness right now. So Drew, I got to say goodbye to you really quick because I'm talking people's ear off about SweatBlock wipes. That's right. You've heard me talk up and down about this product the last few weeks. Look, very, very, very nerve-wracking games happen on Saturday. Or, hey, as we're coming up to the basketball season, we've been sitting through some basketball games in recent memory that have us perspiring. Or are they going to make us perspire? Not with SweatBlock. That's right. All those nerve-wracking games, I am one dry guy. The shirt is not taking on any sweat because, look, you apply SweatBlock wipes. Bada bing, bada boom. It works up to 7 days per use. That's what you get out of a doctor-created, doctor-recommended product right there. They are your little secret to confidence as well because they are just very easy to store on the go, in your pocket, in your purse, in your wallet. Hey, you know what? Keep it wherever. Apply it when you need to. 7 days of protection. Save 20% off as well on sweatblock.com with promo code LOCKEDON. That's 2 words. Locked On. One more time, save 20% off with promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. Drew, you're back. You did not leave. I can't believe it. Look at this. Kept you here for all 3 segments. Look at us go. And look at your offense go, too, because look, hey, they're not putting up, crazy world-beating numbers like the defense, but they're holding their own so far this year, obviously enough to be 7-1. What is the strength of this offense? Is it that run game with that outstanding running back you guys have? Or, hey, is the passing game getting a little frisky for you guys too?
Well, I think you have to start with Chase Brown. Absolutely. I mean, he's putting together a phenomenal year, 100 yards every game this season, 1208 on the year, leading rusher in the country still. Legit Heisman contender. I think he's got to be in that conversation, especially with the year Illinois is having.
Sure.
Number 1 in rushing yards, number 1 in yards after contact, number 2 in missed tackles forced, which I didn't even realize was an analytic thing to look at, but
sure,
he's doing very well in that. Sure, we'll go with it. And it's interesting because at the start of the year, we were talking a lot about Chase Brown, but also Josh McCray. Last year as a true freshman, had a really good season, had 500 some yards. He was a nice compliment to Chase Brown. And, going into the season, we're thinking, we know Chase Brown's good, but to have this team at its sort of peak level of performance, we're going to need both guys. Chase Brown is really, really good, but those short yardage situations, those, Can he do that, up the middle? He's more is he more the East-West guy? Josh McCray, 6'1", 240 pounds. Like, that's a huge weapon to have,
It's a lot of man. Yeah.
He's your TJ Duckett or a Sparty ref. There you go.
Hey, look at that.
And Josh McCray played the first game against Wyoming and didn't play again until Nebraska on Saturday. So he's done all this without really a true handcuff or complement in the backfield. Like, he's been getting, I think, 103, 104 carries, somewhere in that ballpark the last 3 weeks. Still getting his 100 yards. Has not gotten into the end zone as much, which I think is the one thing we're looking at in terms of Heisman. He doesn't have 15 touchdowns or 18 touchdowns. Like, he doesn't have the scoring numbers to complement the rushing yards. But he's fantastic. He's gotten a lot better as a receiver as well. He's worked on his hands quite a bit. So he's been a very valuable kind of dual threat guy. But I do want to talk about the passing game because I think it's been overlooked because of how great Chase Brown's been. Yeah. Tommy DeVito has been absolutely stellar coming in from Syracuse. I know that the term game manager gets kind of a bad rap. I think he's exceeded that. He's performed better than what a game manager would do, but he's playing pretty much mistake-free football. Only 2 picks the whole season. I want to say 12 touchdowns. Let me check real quick. 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's completing almost 73% of his passes. Very low risk. He's not taking a lot of chances down the field. So if you want to give that game manager moniker to him, I suppose it's fair. But I don't think this offense is anywhere nearly as successful without Tommy DeVito. I don't know if you saw the Iowa game, but when DeVito got injured and Art Sitkowski was in his stead, Illinois was struggling to move the ball. So DeVito just has a feel for the offense. He's got, control of it. Obviously, his teammates trust him. He spreads the ball around to a lot of different guys. Illinois has 3 legit wide receivers. Pat Bryant is more of the downfield, big play guy. Brian Hightower is your guy, similar to Josh Imatorbhebhe was a couple of years ago.
Ooh, nice pullback. Yeah.
Giving me nightmares on that from the Michigan State game at 19. But, the guy that's
I'm over it totally. Yeah.
Guy that's going to go in traffic and grab a lot of contested balls. And then Isaiah Williams is the kind of do everything guy. He's going to get free in space, make guys miss. He's the guy you throw the bubble screens to or those short, slant routes to, and then he takes off and had a really nice touchdown early in the Nebraska game where he got like 3 yards of open space, turned field, and he was down the sideline 46 yards for a touchdown. So they have 3 guys that are really good wideouts and are very good at different things, and that adds some dynamic qualities to the offense. As you alluded to, they're not Ohio State. They're not scoring 50 points a game. They don't have 7 NFL guys, backing up their existing NFL guys. They don't have those guys, but it's a very efficient, very effective offense for what Brett Bielema wants to do. He wants to do that ball control thing. Oh, yeah. Control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, lots of time of possession, limiting the opposing team's chances to score. And DeVito is the right guy to do that. He's found his guys. He's found them often. He can make plays with his feet as well. He's got some escapability there too. So I love Chase Brown. He's been fantastic. He deserves all his flowers, but don't overlook Tommy DeVito. He has been a big difference maker for the team so far.
All I could do is laugh when you're talking about Brett Bielema ball, time of possession, control of the trenches. Great. Just everything that MSU is struggling with this year. That's fantastic.
I will say, there is a critique for this offense. If there is something that they've needed to work on, it would be the red zone offense. I don't want to be super homer and be like, they have no flaws at all.
You are 7-1 though, so it is understandable. It's not like you're walking in here 3-4 saying all this. Yeah,
the red zone offense has struggled in terms of scoring touchdowns. 29 out of 36 on the year, which is pretty good, pretty effective. But only 15 of those have been touchdowns. So
gotcha.
They've been kicking a lot of field goals, which might win against Minnesota or Iowa or maybe Michigan State, against a Michigan or an Ohio State, or down the road a team like, in a bowl situation, if you're playing a team like a Clemson or an Oregon or someone like that.
Sure.
Goals probably aren't going to get the job done. I mean, you've got a tight end that we are somewhat familiar with, and Daniel Barker, that might help us in the red zone. Maybe they need that dynamic catching tight end in the end zone to help us out there. But other than that, I mean, it's a very good offense. They need to get better about finishing in that, those goal to go situations.
And also, too, really quick before signing off here, I'm just happy to see Tommy DeVito thriving at Illinois, just from like a safety aspect. In his sophomore and junior year, combined 64 sacks at Syracuse. This year, just 12 sacks. It's got to be great for him to not get crunched like he's in a car accident every 5 seconds on a Saturday. So it's just nice to see.
I think that's I feel like BTN or ESPN, they've mentioned that at times during the games that was one of the selling points. Brett Bielema was like, hey, we're going to
be protected.
Clean. We've got an O-line. You're not going to have that situation every week. Like, you can come in here and you can make these plays and do what you did the first couple of years of your career without getting killed every week. And O-line's been great. Brought in a couple of really nice transfers from the JUCO realm. Isaiah Adams at left guard, Zy Chrysler at right guard. I think Chrysler, when he came in, was like 6'6" and like 380 or something. He's down a little bit. He's down to like 330 or 340 now, but he was just like engulfing people when he first came in. So they've really done a good job with the offensive line. You've got a good mix of pass and run blocking. Again, it's a Brett Bielema thing. Like, he knows both those sides in the trenches how to make those work. So good offensive line, sound quarterback play. A dominant running game to this point. Can't really, if that's not complimentary football, I don't really know what is.
No, fresh out of ideas. Yeah, that's it right there, man. No doubt about that. Well, Drew, I can't thank you enough for your time. Look, on this show, we've been pretty lucky with a lot of great crossover episodes previewing games, but man, this one was awesome. This one's going to hold a special place in my heart, regardless of what happens Saturday. We'll see. We'll stay tuned. But Drew, where can the fine people find you? Are you anywhere on social media? Can people come scream at you or agree with you?
I welcome all the screaming. I welcome the hate. Let it flow. I love it.
Perfect.
That's what Twitter is for, right? It's
amen. That's right.
That's what the Twitter.com was invented for. Anonymously shouting at other people that can't do anything to you. So the Twitter handle is my last name backwards. Karatsip.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Clever little clover am I. And Champagne Room is the website. Champagne_room. Let me make sure I get that right. I don't want to get my pay docked or something like that. So
type in some iteration of that, it'll pop up. Yeah.
Oski Talk is the podcast. OSKEE. And then you search for Champagne Room on Twitter. Will pop up there. That's the SB Nation site for the Fighting Illini. So lots of great stuff there to wet your whistle, and good stuff.
There we go. Awesome. And gang, you already know we will be back tomorrow. We'll be back late Saturday night, potentially. That's the target, at least, to record a post-game show. Hopefully it'll be good, but regardless, even if it goes south, hey, catch us here, Locked on Spartans. Until then, you guys are the best. Love you all. Go green. Let's go.